Alright everyone, this is DarkSide2K7, aka Sun Sky Chaser. I hope you're having a wonderful 4th of July Well, as you may know, remember all that bullshit how many of these woke idiots say, oh, video games with sexualized content and scandal creates misogyny, attitudes, and body images issues. Yeah, remember how all that shit that they always like to SJWs and woke motherfuckers like to spread out? And yes, these characters, and before you say that, yes, these characters that I created are my creation because I'm a guy, and that's the reason. Well, turns out there's a study that came out, and it finds that, well, it does not cause misogynistic attitudes and body image issues, pretty much destroying their whole bullshit narrative. I'm reading this from Bounding into Content, so feel free to listen while watching Seema and Roxanne Skunk bow it out for y'all entertainment. Study finds video games with sexualized content does not cause misogynistic attitudes or body images According to the results of a recent study, psychologists have found that the evidence is weak that sexualized games influence players' attitudes and behavior. Set to have its results published in the October 2022 edition of the Journal Computers of Human Behavior under the title "The Sexualization in Video Games Causes Harm in Players," a meta-analytic examination. The recent study sought to address the often touted claims of the perpetrator offended, such as disgraced critic Anita Sarkeesian and numerous gaming journalists, and answer the question of whether video games with sexualized content do or do not relate to mental health and body image problems in players and or sexualized hostility towards women. Conducted by Christopher J. Ferguson, perhaps best known for his work debunking the similar claims that violent video games inspire violent behavior, James Dessar, Arnold Durman, Julian Keene, and Emily Rowe Calabre, the study explored the degree to which sexualization in games was related to both well-being and body dissatisfaction. Well-being says body dissatisfaction and sexual and misogyny among players and two separate media analysts. In doing so, the team reported found that sexualization in games was neither related to body dissatisfaction nor sexism as misogyny. Better designed studies and those that show less evidence for researcher expectancy effects for sexism as misogyny outcomes tend to find less evidence for effects they expect. As appears commonly in other realms of media effects, the evidence is weak to suggest that sexualized games influence player attitudes and behaviors. Psychologically centric news outlet Psychopost say that these conclusions were derived from a meta-analysis of 18 other studies, all measured the result of exposing a subject to video games both featuring and lacking sexualized content. 15 of these measured aggression towards women along with sexist attitudes, while 10 measured factors involving the depressive body image and anxiety. Speaking of side posts, Ferguson prefaced, I've been studying the effects of video games on players for 2 decades now. Most of it's on violence. I think most people have come to accept that there is no relationship between violent video games and aggression or violent crime, despite some holdouts, including the American Psychological Association. However, people still ask a lot of questions about sexualization and whether games either make male players more sexist towards women or whether women players experience more body dissatisfaction and other well-being concerns, Ferguson dismayed. It's a much smaller research field than the violence field, so we hope to bring some clarity to it. As alluded to by Ferguson, the theory that video games cause real-life violence has been debunked in 3 studies from 2020. One being a self-declared definite study from Oxford University, along with the studies from 2019, 2017, 2 from 2016, 2015, and 2008. Overall, the moral panic Overall, the moral panic over video games and sexualization is pretty much following the paint by numbers pattern of the video game violence debate. He continued. Lots of hypermoral and moral outrage, but very little evidence that video games are cause any harm to either male or female characters, players. As a purely public health issue, this doesn't appear to be much of a concern at all, Ferguson condemned. That doesn't mean people can't advocate for better representation of females in games. They just need to be cautious not to make claims of harm that can be easily debunked. Therefore, calling into question what might be otherwise be reasonable advocacy goals. Speaking to the papers the team analyzed, Ferguson said of their quality, the major caveat is simply that many of the studies just aren't very good. The good news is that the higher quality studies were less likely to find evidence for negative effects than lower quality studies. In some studies, scholars probably interject their personal moral opinions into their studies, if unintentionally, he proposed. Granted, it's still a fairly small research area, but its initial data has been so underwhelming that I'm not sure there's much to be mined here. Obviously, we go through these cycles of blaming media for social problems. Burgundy money. At least with fictional media, the evidence often reveals that we're probably scapegoating media and fixing rarely causing social problems. Again, to be fair, advocating for better representation of females in games can be worthy cause, even if the game doesn't cause harmful effects, he concluded. I support those efforts. Just hope advocates don't misrepresent the evidence as part of their efforts, which unfortunately is all too common among advocacy groups. Despite these findings and the overall results being an already common point in understanding among players, these outcry cycles over sexism in video games have resulted in numerous instances for censorship. For example, in October 2018, a developer working for a Japan studio lightly claimed Sony Interactive Entertainment was demanding that them and other Japanese studios to censor sexual content in their games. During a PlayStation event that December, Sony Interactive Japan Asia President Atsumushi Morito, sorry I butchered your name, I'll take that on that one, was asked about how the alleged project would balance the freedom of expression, to which he explained, about the censorship, we tried to meet global standards. Regarding the balance of freedom of expression and safety of children, it's a tough position to deal with, he admitted in a follow-up. A Sony spokesperson confirmed the existence of this policy in 2019, justified its existence by saying the rise of not just the Me Too movement, but also the increased popularity of video game streaming on YouTube and Twitch. This censorship has often afflicted upon games explicitly designed to be fan service heavy. So much so that it led Syrian career producer Kenshiro Takaki to leave Marvelous later that same year. However, it's not just Sony who have taken a stance against sexual content in their video games, especially when they feature an anime art style. Series such as Mortal Kombat and Tomb Raider notably desexualize their characters. In recent entry, while Capcom censored Rainbow Mika's butt-slapping taunt in Street Fighter V. EVO Japan 2019 saw organizers cut the live stream of the demonstration of Dead or Alive 6, where director Yoi Shimomori demonstrated the game's photo mode in a lewd manner, while two real-life models demonstrated the game's jiggle fixes in real life. Commentators stated upon returning to that footage does not reflect the content intensity of EVO. Tifa Lockhart notably had a sports bra under her iconic tank top in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Director Tetsuya Nomura later confessed that Tifa's bust size was limited due to the mandate from Square Enix Ethics Department. The list of redesigns and censorship of sexual content in video games over the last 5 years or so, not including allegations of Western studios intentionally designing female characters to be unattractive or localized or censoring scenes that could have even potentially offend women, or so it's almost endless. Most recently, the VR release of Resident Evil 4 received numerous cuts to its script in order to, as explained by a Facebook spokesperson, update the game for modern audience. However, an insider who leaked these edits ahead of the game's release claimed it was done out of fear that the content inclusion would result in social media backlash. In fact, it may be this fear of being branded sexist by the outrage mob that have led these companies, all of whom could have cited in a 2015 study that said that video games don't make people sexist or simply ignore the offended demand, to instead choose to kowtow to at the first sign of trouble. However, there are those pushing back. Platinum Games has kept Bayonetta shamelessly sexy, as attended by her female designer Marari Shimazaki. By the way, love Bayonetta. I actually got the PS4 game version of her, and I loved it. And I love Bayonetta. She is real sexy. By ignoring accusations of sexism and sticking to their intended visions of series director Hideki Kamiya, the studio has been able to produce 2 quality titles that have been well received by both fans and critics. Top Hat Studios also caught flack for Sense, a cyberpunk ghost story for a game set in the future where body modification, such as hyper-sexualized appearance, have become the norm. However, in response, the developers stated that they would categorically and absolutely refuse to censor the game, even go so far as to share a number of abusive messages and gaslighting attempts leveled against them by industry-adjacent people. Amid rumors Tales of Arise would be censored by PlayStation, Bandai Namco was compelled to state the game won't be censored on any platform. Yeah, it's sad. It's really fucking sad how there has to be a fucking study that calls out their unnecessary bullshit, and especially a bullshit that was spouted out by disgraced game critic Anita Sarkeesian, which is nothing more than a vile, evil bitch who feels like, oh, I should ruin everybody's fun. But yeah, like I said, I feel like this whole thing is full of bullshit. And also, what these idiots what these woke idiots and idiots on Twitter or Reset Era or whatever the fuck website they on, they fail to realize sex totally fucking sells, man. And they was like, what? You're gonna tell these companies to stop selling sex, to stop this bullshit, dude? They're not gonna do it. They're not gonna do it. They're not going to do it if it affects their bottom line. That's the thing that these idiots fail to realize. So the fact that this was made, that their study had to be made to call out this bullshit, is actually sad. It shows how much stupidity these idiots are. It's funny how they scream about sex, misogyny, and all this, but they don't have any evidence to back up their bullshit. Then again, it's woke idiots. It's woke motherfuckers on Twitter. They do this shit. They bitch about something. They claim some shit happened, but they don't offer any evidence to back up their bullshit. It's like, just trust me, bro. Just trust me. So yeah. This study right here, that's going to be published in October 2022, it pretty much destroyed their bullshit narrative. Their narrative is bullshit anyway. To be perfectly honest. And besides, like I said, this whole thing is stupid, but it is what it is. But I'd like to know what you think of this whole situation is. I'll leave a link to the article in the description below. As always, be sure to leave a comment, like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell so you don't miss out on an update, share with your friends, share with your neighbors, share your significant others, and that's about it. Until next time, this is Darkside2K7, aka Silent Sky, signing off. Thank you for watching this video. It really means a lot, and I hope you have a fun and safe 4th of July tonight. Catch you later, please. It's kind of crazy that they have to make an article like this. This falls in, I mean, seriously, this right here falls in the same line where idiots will say, oh, video games lead to violent crimes. I play violent video games, and even I call bullshit on them. God, people can be so stupid these days.